So we enter all of these values into L1. Let's figure out the mean, median, mode, and all that stuff. I better check my key. Yes, so we're good here. So then we'll talk about what units are associated with these numbers here. It's the flow rates of the Red River measured at the Redwood Bridge between 1972 and 2001, measured in cubic meters per second. So we actually associate those units there, cubic meters per second. Standard deviation is 951.49 cubic meters per second. N is 30. So what do you think 30 would be at this point? If you had to guess. So these are flow rates, right? So these are different days, right? 30 different instances. So 30 days that we took measurements. And let's figure out the median. What's the median? There we go. And the range, how do we find the range? If I ever asked you for it, this is just a reminder. Yeah, max minus min, so we're just going to go ahead and use our calculator to help us with that. And so it's 4428 cubic meters per second. That's how widespread between the highest and the lowest value. That's what we are accounting for. And the mode, how do you find the mode again? You need to sort. Yeah, there we go. We need to sort for that to work. So a reminder, we go to sort in ascending order. And once it says done, we go back into our list and it's all sorted. I'm just going to skip ahead and tell you that there is no mode because every number shows up once. Because that's not the point of this exercise right now. All values show up the same number of times, no mode. This is what I want to focus on. And it says again, in order to make a frequency table, right, you want a sorted list. It makes this so much easier. Now, you need to figure out what your interval width is going to be. Like, are we going to go up by 50s, by 100s, what have you? I already went ahead and told you how many intervals do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've got 10 intervals. So to figure out the width, we just take the range and we divide it by intervals. Like, how many brackets are you considering? And our range, you already know, it's 4428. We're going to divide it by 10. And so that is 442.8. I don't like that number. That's just this is just kind of to guide us. We're going to go with 500. Brackets of 500, okay? Because we got 400 and something, 440. To make life easier, we're going to go 500. That is our width, so that's worth highlighting because you're going to wonder, how did Mr. decide to go up by 500? And let's do a real quick rundown. Can I start with 0? To be honest, you can start with 100. You can start with 150. You can start with whatever you want. I'm going to go with 0 to 500. And let's see if this works out. Then the next bracket is going to go from 500 to 1,000. From 1,000 to 1,500, and so forth. So we're going up by 500s, and it just makes it so much easier if you grab round numbers. Because remember, we're just trying to organize our data. Data, if it's just raw and just a bunch of it, like you could have thousands, tens of thousands. If you don't organize it, it doesn't mean anything. So you're basically figuring out, have you ever built a shelf? Anybody built a shelf or maybe made a shelving unit in your room to organize? You want to kind of figure out like, what spacing do I need for this to work out, right? So we're trying to figure out a good spacing between the shelves that will work out for us. Who builds a shelf, Mr. Dirksen? Like, what's going on with that comment, right? Yeah, I know, I'm weird. 5,000. Okay, is 5,000 good enough for me to stop there? And I would say if you're not sure, if you have lots of numbers, go to your L1. I'm going to go, instead of scrolling down, because you might have 20, 30, 40 values, go up, 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 and then you see that 4587 is the greatest value. So this works just fine, right? We're able to put all of our numbers in these shelves here. So now is where the tally comes up. So have your calculator ready. It's sorted. So you're going to go through your list and put the values in the shelves. So 159 is between 0 and 500. So I go that one goes there. 187 goes there. 280 goes there. 396 goes there. 500. Where does 500 go? If you have a value that goes in between, do you remember? You always take the lower shelf. So 500 belongs to this category right here. So I count it in here. 564 is going to be between 500 and 1,000 already. So I put it in there. 564, 881, 946, 991. And then I jump, right? Because the next one is 1,048. That one goes here. 1,048, 1121, 1390, 1393. 1399, that's 5, right? 5 values there. 14, and then 1557 is already in this bracket here, so you just have to watch out. Oh, you can't see that on your screen, sorry. I'm kind of scrolling through this. So 15, oh, where did I end up here? Did I count this one already? Well, let's say you lost your space, right? The first one that goes into this category is this one right there, 1557. So I didn't count 1589 yet. 1671, 1750, 1785, 1807, 1812, 1877, 2080 goes in here. 20, and so forth. 2718 goes in here. 3030 goes in here. 58, 4587, where does that go? Not here, not here, but here, correct? And I'm done. So now that's the tally part. So now we just see, that means that we have 5 days where we had a frequency of between 0 and 500, 4 here, 6, 8, 3, 1, 2, 1. And there's 0 here, right? There's no days where in those brackets. And that's fine. Let me just see, what should this add up to? How many days did I count? 30, right? So let's see here, 9 and 6 is 15, 23, 26, 27, 29, 30. So we did it right, okay? We didn't miss one. So that's something that you want to check. At this point, if you had a device, I would get rid of this column if I could, right? So now that technically this is our frequency table here. We just use the tally to kind of keep track of how many values are in that shelf. Okay? And now this is something you should be familiar with already, creating a histogram and a frequency polygon. So you go frequency, which this is days, and this would be flow rate, and what are our units for that one? It's a very weird unit, but it's just, this is how much volume goes through every second. Okay. Cubic meters is volume. And my frequency is probably the easiest to do. The highest number I ever get to is 8. But I'm just going to go, to make it easier, I'm going to go 5, 10, 15, which is more than enough what I need. I don't go past 10 anyways. So this is good. What about down here? This is 0, correct? And in my interval width I already went to 500. So I don't need a zipper here either, because I started with 0. And you go up by 500. So please let me know if I make a mistake, okay? I'm rushing a little bit. But I'd rather you interrupt me than to do this whole thing and get one number wrong. Going up by 500, looks good. So I have that, and histograms is what? Those are the bars, right? So between 0 and 500 I have 5. So I can start right there. Then I have 4. And I always like to write down the number at the top. And then I have 6. And 8. And 3. And you know how that goes, right? And 1. And 2. And then you've got a bunch of zeros, right? Nothing here, and then there's just one day where you had a bit of one day here where you have an extreme high flow. This is probably the flood of 1997, 98. If you remember, you probably weren't even around yet. I don't think so. I wasn't here either. I was like plus 40 South America at that time. But anyways, that was the flood. I read about it. Apparently snow was up to the roof of a lot of houses. They had to dig themselves out. And people would call the radio station, like CJOB, AM radio. It's like, hey, this and this house needs bread or water or milk or something. And snowmobilers would just go and distribute the goods among the community. So that was a crazy time. And so that snow melted, and that's what created the flood. So a lot of basements got flooded that spring. A lot of basements. And so the insurance company changed the coverage after that because it cost them millions of dollars to redo basements. Some people put stuff in the basement, which is not nice. They put like couches and stuff in the basement because they wanted new couches. So a lot of fraud happened then as well. I read about that. So this is the histogram, frequency polygon. How do you do that? This is what you would normally do. You're finding the midpoints, correct? Like I've taught you how to find the midpoints of every bracket. The easiest way to do it on a histogram is to just say, hey, that is the midpoint right there, and that is a midpoint. That is a midpoint, right? What about these ones here, the zeros? Guess what? There's still a midpoint, and it's right on the x-axis. And then it goes up a little bit, and then we make contact with the ground again. So you can just go from 0 to it, just make contact with the x-axis, and you're good. This is the frequency polygon. Why is it a polygon? Because sometimes the shapes that result are polygons. Triangles and so forth. So there you have both. Now, I actually wanted to go a little bit further than this, but that's fine. So I'm just going to say, basically assign the same pages again. Page 18 to 23. And in particular on page 19, sorry, page 20. Page 20 has a graph. So if you are still not fluent with this kind of stuff, page 20 gives you a chance to do this again. Okay? And so tomorrow be ready to do a histogram polygon, and also to make your, will you have this many values? It will be not as many, okay, but you'll have to be able to create this. And how did I start? Let's just do a quick review. This is the most important part right here. How do I come up with the interval width? I take my range and divide it by the intervals. I promise you that I will give you a table. So you just count how many empty slots there are. In this case, we had 10. Range divided by intervals gives us the width, and you make up whatever width you want, unless I tell you the width. If I tell you go up by 50, you're going to go up by 50, all right? And then making a histogram and or a frequency polygon, okay? I'm telling you what's next. I'll give you a little foreshadow what's happening. That's an English term right there. We're actually going to talk about the normal curve, the bell curve, normal distribution. This is going to be huge in college as well, okay? Thank you, guys.